Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Rome Business Radio. This is the Rome-Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight. We are broadcasting from the Hardy Realty Studios, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. I'm Roger Manus with Rome Business Radio.
And I'm Thomas Gifford with the Rome-Floyd Chamber. Good morning.
Hello, Thomas. How are things?
Splendid. How are you doing?
We're doing great. I know you've got us a great group here lined up, a variety of different businesses and perspectives as we talk business here and share stories and create connections. Would you mind introducing our guest, please, sir?
Sure, absolutely. So, ladies first, we have today Britannia Parker. She's the senior manager with Urgent Team, which is an urgent care walking clinic here in Rome. And they're located on Turner McCall in the new hotspot, Riverbend, East Bend area, Home Depot. But she'll tell us all about it in a minute. And then we have Tom Hart, and he's representing Toastmasters International Rome. He's also the commissioner for the USA South Athletic Conference. And I had the privilege to join a Toastmasters meeting last night, which was very interesting. A great group of people. And then we have Tim Naddy. He's with Hound Talint and Baker Street Scientific, and Tim is also an actor with a local theater. So
thanks for that, Thomas.
So it's got an interesting group, and looking forward to hear from everybody today.
Wow, we run the gamut, as they say. Well, I'll follow your tradition and do ladies first. So, Britannia, obviously, I guess urgent care. We get it. It's in the name. But if you could just tell us a little bit about more what it is that you guys do and why you're necessary.
Okay, so we're actually Urgent Team. And like you said, it's urgent care. We also do primary care as well. So we're not just urgent care. Yes, we have the x-ray machines and we're able to do occupational medicine and stuff like that. But we also follow women's health, wellness. We can do telemedicine and things like that. It's not just strictly urgent care anymore. We're trying to branch out and be able to help the whole local community.
Gotcha.
For an overall.
And what's your history there? Like he mentioned the area of town you're in. How long have you guys been around and things like that?
So we've been here in Rome since November.
Right.
So we opened towards the end of the pandemic, and we've been doing fairly well. Our company itself has been open since 2011. It's got 65 plus locations in 5 different states. I know we're in Georgia, of course, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Alabama. We have over 800 plus employees that are with our Urgent Team family. Trying to think. We're just trying to basically bring the best help that we possibly can to people that can't really afford it.
I got you. And specifically, where are you located?
We are located the old Payless building.
Right.
That's what we used to be, right in front of the IHOP, across from the Texas Roadhouse,
right.
And across from Burger King. So we are in a more popular area. I just know that it's the old Payless building.
Britannia, do you have a drive-through?
No, unfortunately, we don't. It'd have been nice during the COVID swabbing, but no.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. It's actually a running joke on our show here that Thomas and I were laughing at. Whenever we talk local businesses and then we ask them maybe for their specific location, everybody references themselves by a restaurant.
Yes.
We're across the street from this, or where Piccadilly is, or Doug's Deli, or whatever it is. Okay.
I forgot about Chili's right next door. I should have known that.
So once you start telling people where you are based on restaurant, you're good to go. Okay.
Yes.
Tom Hart, who is a background in sports and education. We were joking before we started here that we could talk about a variety of topics with you, but you're here primarily to represent Toastmasters International Rome. But I am curious, you run the USA South Athletic Conference. Can I get that out of the way first?
Certainly. We can chat about that as well, Roger. Yes, USA South Athletic Conference is located here in Rome, the headquarters, if you will, where we have a NCAA Division III conference. We have 19 schools that are located in the conference. We're the biggest Division III conference in the country. Schools from Montgomery, Alabama, Huntington College, all the way up to Mary Baldwin University in Stanton, Virginia. We have about nine institutions in North Carolina. So we kind of have a north-south or east-west, if you will.
Right.
I have an associate commissioner who lives in North Carolina. We communicate on the phone a lot, or Zoom, as we're doing here.
Right.
And but as an athletic conference, we take care of everything from student awards to scheduling to conduct. Try to emphasize NCAA initiatives, if you will. And it's a small group, but I mean, we're a small team for a large number of institutions, but really enjoy that opportunity. And this is I think I've been doing it. I'll be starting my 6th year as the commissioner of the conference. And we have an office right here in Rome. So, it works out real well.
What restaurant is your office near?
Our office is almost across the street from the Foundry. Not really a restaurant,
well done.
Necessarily, but close enough. They do have some good food.
Well, you're here representing Toastmasters, but obviously, so Toastmasters is this international organization with local chapters. It helps people speak in public. Is that primarily get over your fears, or now I'm rambling because I know I'm talking about speaking in public, but
it is, but. And you're right, the organization itself, Toastmasters International, has been in existence almost about 100 years. And it's an international group. So when they get together at the end of the year for their convention, of course, this is pre-pandemic, people from varying countries would gather. It's changed a little bit in its mission. While at one point, and people often think of it as just public speaking, they've really adjusted and adapted to more of a leadership and professional growth look. The introduction of Pathways. Pathways is an online curriculum, and members can take a variety of paths to improve their place in business, their place in their company, or in some cases, in social settings as well. So while there is a portion of it that has to do with the ability to speak in public, there's also this curriculum and underlying information that really helps you to move in areas like presentation mastery, if you will. How do we integrate PowerPoint with the information we're trying to share? Things like that. So it's become multifaceted, and I've been involved with the group now for about 3 years. And as a commissioner, you can imagine I have the opportunity to chat with folks on a pretty large stage. So having the ability to learn from other members, we've got a passionate and strong membership. And in a meeting, you gather feedback when you do your presentations, and it really allows you to catch on to some of the hidden nuances that you didn't maybe know you do. But people can be, compassionately providing feedback to you on that. So I've found it to be extremely helpful. And I don't know if we'll talk later. I don't want to sound like I'm rambling a bit, but we do meet twice a month, the second and fourth Mondays of each month. Typically we meet at the library. Obviously with the pandemic, we're one of the few Toastmasters that has resumed. Thomas mentioned that he was at our meeting last night. We've resumed in-person meetings, and we're temporarily doing that right here off of Fifth Avenue. But we hope to be back in the library hopefully by the 1st of July, because being in person is it just really adds a dynamic that you can't get over the internet.
Yeah, I agree. We have a studio normally to do the podcast. We're embedded at the Rome News Tribune, but because of the pandemic, we've been doing the podcast here over Zoom. So we can't wait for things to kind of get back to normal as well, because we would love to be doing these face to face ourselves. But everybody in the whole world's had to make the best of the situation. And if you had stock in Zoom, you made a bunch of money. All right. Tim Naddy, is it Naddy?
It is. It's like Daddy with an N.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this acting career. What will I have seen you in?
Anything in Rome Little Theater and some B-roll in a zombie film, but we don't need to go there.
What zombie film?
Yeah, that title will remain unnamed because I have DoD clients that I don't want to see this.
So like the big Friends reunion and all that. You're not a part of that, or
No.
any major Hollywood blockbusters. Well, good for you. So working in local theater and all that. That's great. I'm sorry to digress, but Thomas had mentioned it. So he's Hound Talint. I did a quick little Google on you, and it went way over my head.
Okay.
a lot of data. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll give you the basics. So our parent company is Baker Street Scientific, and Baker Street Scientific is a data company that we find the unknown unknowns inside data. Some of our clientele exist in the Department of Defense, healthcare, oil and gas, and financial services. Hound Talint. What happened was that so my background is in fraud examination, fraud investigation, and actually, Tom, you'll appreciate this. I used to do conferences where I'd go and teach at fraud conferences, but mine was a little bit different. Where I would try to get the psychology of the room. So as I was walking around people, I was trying to impress anxiousness upon them, just to watch them like avert their eyes and things. You've probably seen the same thing when you're out there, but I would use that to my advantage to show people how I can make them nervous by just being in their presence, and then make them less nervous as I move away. And so it's you never had the chance to not volunteer in my conference seminars. So, that
sounds like you were just violating people's space.
That's right. It does make you uncomfortable sometimes, depending on how much you've had to drink.
Right.
So But what happened was the Baker Street Scientific side, the data analysis got to be to where it was very PhD level, and it kind of lost the fun, if you will, of the teaching aspect. Because I really want to help young men and women make better decisions, and using data to do that is something that we can do. However, not in the capacity that we were using for the Department of Defense, what have you. So we actually have a spinoff of a data modeler, if you will. We call it Consensei. It allows us to teach consensus. And this modeler is housed inside a subsidiary called Hound Talint, and it's Talint. And I think Tom would also appreciate that that's a talent intelligence. And we spun this out specifically for professional collegiate scouting. And so one of the things that we do with this particular modeler is we have come alongside the scouting world, if you will, because in scouting technology, specifically inside COVID just made this an absolute nightmare for scouts. In fact, the Atlanta Braves had 16 scout strong team. They went down to 3 scouts during COVID. That's how affected they were. And from our standpoint, we look at it and say, look, when you have scouting, there's a lot of decisions that are being made. There's quantitative elements for speed and agility and all those things, but there's also the qualitative elements of the athlete. So kind of, we always go back to like the character, right? So you have a bunch of individuals who are out there, fantastic athletes, male, female, doesn't matter, but maybe they know how to blow up a locker room. And so the question is, do you really want that element on your team? Is there something we can do going in to fix it? So we allow them to, it's the first of its kind that allows you to take the quantitative and the qualitative and actually have a holistic approach into athletic scouting. But what's significant about it is that it does not replace the scout, nor does it make any attempt to replace the scout. Why? Because that would be arrogant of me to say I can replace someone who has 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience in identifying athletic talent with my little tiny modeler, right? So what we've done is we've said, look, there's certain pain points in the scouting process that we believe we can help fix. And if we fix those, we release you, the scouting teams, the scouting managers, the national cross-checkers, what have you. We release you to do what you do best, which is assess talent. So let us play with the data. Let us organize the data so that you can do what you do best, and that is to keep your eyes on the prize.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah,
I need to absorb a lot of that. Tom,
we're right across the street from Jefferson. If you ever want to come over.
We should all just do lunch one day. Thomas, we sometimes look for a link, and Thomas usually comes up with a link between our guests. Do we have one this week, Thomas?
Well, I was thinking about it. It's a little tough one today, but it's about teamwork. Tim just mentioned it. It's quantitative people versus quality work. And that creates, you want to have that team player in there. With Toastmasters, you as a team with a team, you got to present, and urgent team has the name team in it itself, and they have to create a teamwork within their organization as well. And there are some synergies, and I keep listening, and I go deep down there and find some more.
Well, yeah, I often call this show a little bit of a cocktail party, because we're meeting each other for the first time in many cases. Sometimes people know each other because it is a small town, come from different backgrounds. So Britannia, back to you. Like, what is your professional background? One thing that's interesting to me, some people have over the course of their lives one career arc. They knew what they wanted to do. They pursued it. They stayed in it. Some people are real estate agents, then they're car salesmen, and the people. Some people bounce between careers. Like, what's your background? Where were you born? Education? How did you end up where you are?
So I actually grew up in Calhoun, Georgia. I did go to Shorter College for a little bit, but I was a sheltered child, so we'll put it that way. So I ended up over at Georgia Highlands, where I majored in business. I graduated high school with a business certificate. I'm pursuing my nurse practitioner degree currently, because everybody needs a doctor, which I'm not a doctor, it's a nurse prac. But overall, I've always wanted to be in the medical field, because no matter what, you'll always have a job, because people get sick. And it's sad to say, but it's true. So I've always wanted to help people, and I knew that a long time ago, and I couldn't be a vet. It just couldn't happen. I watched a cow be born, and that was it. I was done.
Yeah, I watched a few cows be born in my lifetime as well. But that's great. I mean, it's a serving people face to face industry, and that became your passion. And you stuck in the field. Tom, I think I did a quick read on you. You're from Utica, New York originally, right? And your athletic career has made you bounce around. Utica and Rome, Georgia, probably worlds apart, or do they share a lot of things in common, because there may be a little bit of a kind of the small town vibe?
Exactly, Roger. And that's one of the things that appealed to my wife and I when we moved to Rome, or had the opportunity to come here, when we were assessing it, to raise our kids in a town where you could know folks, and you know each of the restaurants, and probably know the people that run them, right? So Utica is a relatively small town right on the Erie Canal. Its heyday was in the 30s in the textiles, which obviously ironically then came south. After Utica, I went to college at Niagara University, master's out in San Diego, California, where I started coaching, and did some coaching in basketball for my 20s and through my 30s. And was fortunate enough to land a head coaching job, a couple different ones. I've worked professional basketball, junior college, Division III, Division I. Became a head coach, then became an athletic director and a head coach. That got too big. And this is all in St. Louis, Missouri, at Webster University. So then I became the golf coach and the athletic director. And then that got to be too much, and ended up just being the athletic director. So I did that, received my doctorate. It's actually interesting listening to Tim talk a little bit about some of the characteristics of student athletes, or students that are looking to move on, or people that are being scouted, because my doctorate, actually, the dissertation looked at the need for students that participated in Division III athletics for 4 straight years, which for those that may not know, Division III athletics, there are no athletic scholarships. So those students are doing that because they love the sport. And I studied about 400 of them to find out what are some of the deeper pieces, and learned that social identity and the need for affiliation, as well as grit, were pieces that really stuck out for those students that could make it all the way through. So after my doctorate, I've continued to teach. Britannia talked about Shorter. I'm a part-time teacher at Shorter as well, teaching sports psychology, as well as working, with the conference.
And how long have you been affiliated? Obviously, athletics takes people around the country, obviously, in your career. And since I want to make a joke here, since you're from Utica, how have you been down south long enough for the Yankee to wear off?
Does it sound like it's worn off? I've tried to measure myself a little bit on that, but I'm still, because if you're my wife and my daughter and son, they continue to remind me that I still have a little New Yorker in me.
If you're from north of the Grand Ole Opry, that's kind of where to me, that's where things kind of. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. Making light of geography. But have you been associated with Toastmasters throughout your career, or when did you first get affiliated with it?
It was interesting, Roger. So I had been to a Toastmasters meeting when I lived in St. Louis, but it had always been in my mind that, given the number of speeches and presentations and talks I needed to do, that I could probably improve my delivery and preparation and things. And I had to give a pretty large speech in February of 2018. And so in preparation for it, I was like, you know what? I got to start going to Toastmasters and learning some things. So what got me involved here was the need to tweak my ability to present and speak prior to a large event I had to speak at. Well,
and it would seem to be applicable across many professions. From a salesperson, you don't have to be speaking to a stadium full of thousands of people or an auditorium full of hundreds. If the way you described it earlier, if it helps people be more concise in their thinking or laying out their talking points, that can happen in a one-on-one conversation where you're trying to sell somebody something, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, those are the pieces that have kept me in Toastmasters, right? Because that speech that I had to do ended. That was in 2018. But for the next 2.5, 3 years, staying involved, it's because of the pieces that you just mentioned. How can we become a better leader, thinker, presenter? Those things we all need those skills, throughout our days.
Yeah, it sounds interesting because it's not even about sales necessarily. It's about maybe leading your staff, your team. So I get it. Very, very interesting. Tim, I wanted to circle back around with you. You've digressed into the data analytics of athletics, but you guys aren't primarily athletics. You've mentioned the Department of Defense. This is applicable to help people recruit talent for their.
So the Hound Talint function under Hound Intelligence was built specifically to assist people with these types of human-based decision making.
Okay.
So any type the Hound Talint side of it allowed us to get out there and do the sports piece, but it's actually applicable across any type of. You could use it out on the gridiron. You could use it in the front office. In fact, we've had conversations with Berry College on how to implement this from getting kids new incoming freshman classes, or maybe figuring out who the best group is for the MBA school or something like that. So it can be used across the board. And as far as the DoD is concerned, we have actually taken our Hound Talint formula, if you will, and applied for the Army Talent Management, and just to see if we could help the Army actually do find new talent, because a lot of the times they have a lot of different boxes they need to check in order to make sure that the candidate is in fact able to serve in the U.S. military, and so sometimes it comes down to whether or not a particular box is checked, but sometimes it does come down to whether or not that particular infraction on a rap sheet was or did not meet a particular level of threshold, so that they could it's not that big of a deal. We can pass on it. We can take this person into our ranks. So lots of different decisions that are being made when we come down to deciding on humans.
So like what businesses in Rome might be able to use you?
Everybody on this call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the low hanging fruit for us is really when you're identifying any type of talent, from a human perspective, there's a human side. But really, when you really think about what you're trying to do, when you're just trying to size up various attributes to make a decision, the best possible decision, you can actually take this into maybe stock portfolios or looking at investment management, real estate investments, things like that. My background being in finance, public accounting, that's kind of where it started, and then realized, hey, the biggest part of business is the people aspect of business. If we can kind of figure out how to work that, everything else, they don't have personalities. A stock portfolio, it goes up and down, but does it or does it not fit my particular criteria to be in my fund or what have you? That's easy. The question is how do you identify whether or not forget about the risk aversion of the client, but whether or not that particular stock and or bond or some type of asset, if it makes them more nervous to put it in their portfolio, or maybe they want to include it because it fits inside their particular profile. So there's a lot of different ways. Pretty much anytime you have various attributes that you need to size up as data points, then you can use this modeler to assist you in that decision-making process. And what it will do essentially is that all of us could look at the same piece of information, the same data set, and put our own assessment. And what's neat is that because the five of us have different backgrounds, we will actually come up with our own interpretation of what this data should beget. But then we can all have a conversation on the things that we disagree on. So let's say there was 10 things in there, 7 of them, we all agreed that these were important. But then there's 3 that we maybe have a little bit of disagreement, which is okay because we have different opinions and things coming to the table. Very similar to Tom, when you think about director of athletics, all the different opinions on various athletic talent, right? There's not one opinion that is wrong per se. It's just a different approach, a different background, a different expertise. And so what consensus allows us to do is it allows us to say, okay, we've reached consensus on 7 of the 10 points. Let's just talk about the 3 points that we disagree on and see if we can come to some kind of agreement so that the entire team feels good about 1, the data coming into the process, 2, the decision-making process itself, and 3, the end result of how we came up with our team's analysis and top 5 list, if you will.
You're kind of like the Moneyball guy in Rome, aren't you? The movie Moneyball.
The pendulum is swinging.
Thomas, one thing I want to touch on that before I forget, because I would like to make this a tradition. You talked earlier about teamwork, and that was kind of the common thread we were doing, but we're also trying to, or I am, I don't know if you're on board with this or not. How would teamwork translate into German as our word of the week?
Well, we use a lot of English words, so actually, in the German business world, we call it teamwork. But team is a Mannschaft. It's literally it would be die Mannschaftsarbeit.
There you go.
Mannschaftsarbeit, yeah.
Das ist gut.
Nice.
You might have to spell that for me. I've started asking. A couple of weeks ago we did pivot. I'm trying to learn, even though it's not helping me at all because I can never remember it. But I do want to go around the circle here one more time about contact information, location, maybe specific sets. So Britannia, we'll start with you again. Do you guys have a Facebook page or website, social media? How can people get a hold of you? And kind of review again, this is not just urgent. It's not like you've cut your finger and you need a stitch. People can get regular routine care there, correct?
Correct. I think our little even sometimes it's on our little poster standout. It's if you need little more than a Band-Aid, but less of a visit to the ER. So that's what we kind of scope in between. Again, we're located right in front of IHOP, next to Chili's, right off Turner McCall. It's 1314 Turner McCall Boulevard. But overall, we see a wide scope. I'll just put it that way. Especially being here in Rome, I see a lot more interesting things here than I do.
Like what?
Other clinics.
Like what? No names, obviously. They're patients, but like what?
I'm just going to put a wide variety of things. A wide variety. Sometimes people who really need to go to the ER, they come in and they're like, "Hey, can you pull this pole out of my foot?" And I'm like, "No, you need to be at an ER. That's probably went through an artery or something."
Yeah, okay. That's the criteria. That's the ER criteria, but more than a Band-Aid. Yes. I'm following you here.
Yes. If you come in a plastic bag wrapped up with blood leaking out of it, I know you need to go to the ER. So, but overall, like I said, we're right in front of the IHOP, next to Chili's, the old Payless building. Everybody, and you'll be surprised because I actually shopped at this Payless one time before, and this building looks nothing the same. Like I'm in it today, and it looks nothing like that building.
So this would be kind of routine things. If people are having a cold, or they can, and so that type of routine ailment. I'm following the threshold here. Pole in foot is bad.
Like I do know, like even on telemedicine, I know it's like $70. But we see allergy symptoms. If you've had back injuries, UTIs, anything that because the human body, your body more than anybody. I do know that we won't see chest pain on telemedicine, so please don't do that. Pregnancy or STDs, psychiatric conditions, RX refills that are more than a month, we won't do. But if you're established with us, then we will refill your medicines through telemed if you need that. Because some people are still not comfortable coming out due to COVID.
Right.
Britannia, what are your hours?
Monday through Friday, we are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, we are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Excellent.
Okay.
And we're only closed 3 days a year, and that is Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter.
Okay, good. That's good to know. 7 days a week, a lot of hour options. Tom, contact information for you, and I guess in your role as Toastmasters, is there website, certainly, social media?
Yeah. Probably the best social media avenue would be Facebook. If you just Google Rome Toastmasters Club, or Facebook search Rome Toastmasters Club, we have a site there, and that can lead you into we actually have another site within the Toastmasters International site itself. But the Facebook is probably the best way to get initially involved. Again, we meet twice a month on the second and fourth Mondays. It's 6:00. It's only an hour. And it's also important to know, Roger, dues are less than, I think it's about $100 a year.
Okay.
So for the website, all the resources you get to be able to be delivered to your computer or to your laptop, as well as the interaction that you get with humans, which really is a great value for people that are looking to improve their skills within that area.
And I learned you get an award at every meeting too. It's kind of like a competition, which is fun. And today, Tom, I actually keep track of all of our sentence fillers. The ums and the ams. That's why I'm actually joined but Tom, you're a pro. So excellent job there.
Oh gosh, Thomas, how many do you get? If you keep track of that, how many do you count with me?
That is one of the things that within a meeting, again, there are different things like a timekeeper to keep track that people don't ramble too long. There's usually a particular amount of time that people should speak. Ands, any kind of filler like that. Grammar. And we do it in a fun way, but it's an opportunity for people just to get a sense of how they are. So, and then I'd like to be able to just add real quick, Roger, because you asked Thomas, and this is just me being the educator, I guess. But the common theme that I've got between the three of us is our desire to help people, right? Whether they're physically injured, whether they're looking to improve their soft skills, or finding ways to identify valuable people. Tim's doing a great job in those areas where there are aspects that we don't even realize could be identified and or assessed that probably should be. And real quick, I don't want to ramble too much, but it reminds me as an athletic director, I hired a lot of people, a lot of coaches through the years. Some of them didn't work out, but others worked out fabulously. In fact, to this day, probably my crowning achievement was I've been gone from my job in St. Louis for 8 years, and only one head coach that I hired is not there now. Right. They've all been there for 19, 20 years, because if you take the time, look at the pieces, as Tim's talking about, in terms of the person, you can find a way to make a good fit. And so I look at that and think that we're all trying to help. That's my answer.
Yeah, that's actually great. I was also thinking, as athletic director, you probably fired a bunch of coaches too.
Oh yeah. I'm only giving you the highlights. There were a couple one and dones as well.
Just win, baby. Tim, what's contact information for you? Website, things like that?
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page. We also have a Twitter site. We use Twitter probably more often than Facebook, but it's at Hound Talint, and that's TALINT for Talent Intelligence. And that's probably the best place to see us on social media. But our website, contact information, if you guys want to come visit us, we're at 400 Broad. That's on the corner of 4th and Broad Street, and right across the street from Jefferson's, with the building with the real big wooden doors, So we're in that building. We're on the first floor there. You would never know we were there. We've had a bunch of politicos come in and tell us, why didn't we know you were here? It's because we don't advertise. In fact, right. Thomas, right? What did I tell you when we first came in there? He said, okay, it's time to join the chamber. And I think Jenny's smile was from ear to ear, because she said, finally, you're going to join.
Well, it's interesting to me, your office location, because when I think retail.
Yeah, this particular office is the old phone building, and in fact, we have a bathroom inside, because it's a building that's wrapped around another building, and there's a restroom in here where the people, like prisoners, would have to take a shower before they go across the street to the courthouse. So I was like, we've turned it so we go with the Sherlock Holmes theme, right? So now it's got like the really cool Sherlock Holmes stuff in there, but it's just kind of funny. The history of this building far surpasses anything that I can bring to it.
Maybe we should let the Rome history folks know that, so they can add that to their tours.
I will tell you this: when I first got here, if you come along the Fourth Avenue entrance, there's a couple awnings there. There is a Baker Street sign. There's a Baker Street sign that actually came out, like one of those English signs, right? Well, I put one on the front at 400 Broad on the Broad Street side, and Historical Society comes by and goes, yeah, we're not England. You're not going to do that. And so we had to take that one off. But either way, we do have our Baker Street sign out front.
Well, and quickly, as we wrap up here, I meant to mention this earlier. I assumed, but you obviously just kind of touched on it there. Your Baker Street, that's a tip of the cap to Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And if you come in, when you walk up, you see 221B and the actual knocker that's on the door over from straight from Falmouth, England.
Wow. So that analytical stuff, that deduction, that logic, that's right in your eye. I got you. I'm following you now.
And I'll tell you, the hound on our Hound Talint is his name is Toby. He's actually the first dog mentioned in the series. There's three sleuth hounds, and the first dog is Toby. So anywhere you go, Toby's with us. Yeah,
I got you. So from the old restroom for prisoners to shower to and the old Payless shoe store. Thomas, any final thoughts from you? Contact information for the chamber.
Just go online, Google Rome-Floyd Chamber. You'll find us up there first. And we're on One Riverside Parkway. There's a famous eatery right across the street, Stuck Deli. I mentioned I have to get some extra funds from them. So just come by. We are open 8:30 to 5 p.m. Every day, Monday through Friday. So come and visit us, have a coffee with us, and talk chamber to us.
Yeah, it's all about businesses and growing brands and connectivity. So thank you guys for joining us. This was a great conversation. Appreciate everybody's time. This has been a fantastic show.
Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome.
Thomas, be well.
Thank you, guys. This has been the Rome-Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight. We broadcast from the Hardy Realty Studios, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. I'm Roger Manus. Thanks for listening.